Every single year, we find out that college is more outdated than the next. Here's the path that the rich are teaching their kids to do instead.
The rich teach their kids something different, but they could afford the luxury of going to college and partying for 4 years and then afterwards being stuck learning how to do business. But typically, rich people, especially if they want to pass down the stuff that they built, what they learn to do is teach their children on how to think like business people, right? And there's 4 different ways to think about things because there's 4 different ways you could earn income. Well, it's technically 3 ways to earn income, but 4 different ways. So first, you become an employee. That's that E in that quadrant, right? An employee, essentially you work for someone else. Someone gives you a job, right? I know a lot of times you hear people say like, oh, they should be lucky to have me. Like, yeah, that's true to some perspective, but at the same time, you're lucky that they gave you a job too, right? Because if you left, they'll always find someone else to replace you. You could become self-employed, which is the S right there. And becoming self-employed just means that you work for yourself, that you own a job, right? You don't have a job, you own a job, right? So the business doesn't run unless you're working. That's a self-employed person. You become B, a business. A big business is more of what that stands for. And what that happens is when you have people working for you, operating the business, and if you have to step away, it should still be in a position to where it could still function without you actually physically having to be there, right? As an employee, you only get paid when you show up to work. As self-employed, once again, the business only operates if you're there working, right? If you're a dentist, right, no one else in that office can do the dentist work, right? You have to do that work. So that's what a self-employed. A business means that everyone else is doing the work for you, right? And you get to reap the benefits of it. And then the last spot is an investor, right? An investor is someone who actually puts money where hopefully make money from it. That being said though, is that most rich people are trying to teach their kids to be on this side, right? And let's focus into rich. Like if you're CEO of a company making $500,000 a year or $1 million a year, right? Even though you're still on the side of operating a business, you still might not be the owner of that business. And if you're not the owner of that business, what are you as a CEO of the company? You're an employee, you're an E, right? So even though you're doing everything for this company and building it up, you're still an employee. You're not the actual owner of that business, right? And that's where the difference is that you might be wealthy and rich as an employee, and that's very hard to transfer that down to generation after generation. But the real smart people, the people that have the trust funds, you ever hear the trust fund baby, right? Those are people that are on that right side of that quadrant. The parents have built up that asset and passed down that legacy now to someone, right? Versus, you being an employee making $500,000 a year and spending $50,000 in taxes, leaving $250,000 over. That doesn't make sense, right? As an employee, you pay 40% in taxes. As self-employed, you pay roughly about 60% in taxes. When you have a big business, you pay roughly about 20%, and investors typically pay 0, right? And how much easier is it to keep your wealth and stay rich if you're paying 0% in taxes compared to relative to 40% or even 60% on the self-employed side, right? So that's where the rich are teaching their kids is to be on the right side of that quadrant, pay less in taxes, keep your wealth, and stay rich.
So if college isn't the only way, but not even the best way, there's other paths that you can go through.
So when we talk about how to go from one side to the other, the best ways to do that is 1, become an employee and then start a business. And then when you start that business, have it get to the point to where it produces enough passive income for you to cover your expenses to where you no longer have to work your job in order to actually make your ends meet, right? And so that's one way to do it. Or the other way to do it is to be, if you're self-employed, like being a dentist, right? You got to figure out how to get other dentists into that practice so that you can have them operate the business while you stay at home or start expanding and build other practices around the dentist field, right? And then from there, once you have your business established, you can now take that money and put it towards actual investments to where you don't actually have to maintain or operate that business. Someone else is doing that for you. You're just putting the capital in to make you money. First, you just need to change your mindset, right? Everyone thinks like that employee. Everyone thinks like that E, right? That's what school teaches you to do, is to be a good employee. Legitimately, that's why they even created schools, is to teach you to be a good employee, to listen to what they're being told versus thinking outside the box and doing what you want to do, right? Create something for yourself.